This young man is perhaps the unluckiest person I've ever known. While getting up, he clumsily hit his head on the side of the vehicle. As he was about to get off, the woman in front was endlessly struggling with her card. He tried to exit through the front door, but it had already closed. When he went to the back door, that was closed as well, so he had to wait until the next stop. When he got off the bus, it was still raining heavily. While fumbling around, he spotted an umbrella. Thinking he'd had a stroke of luck, his joy was short-lived. A gust of wind blew the umbrella to pieces. Then he tried to light a cigarette to warm himself, but his lighter wouldn't ignite. Suddenly, rainwater accumulated on the awning above him poured down, soaking him to the bone. This made him extremely angry. Afterwards, he went to see psychologist Han Jin Young. He recounted all his misadventures, and the doctor diagnosed him with trauma-induced intermittent explosive disorder. Seeing his injured hand, the doctor asked in surprise about the cause. He explained that while walking down the street, he carelessly tripped, causing him to drop his slipper. Seeing a woman approaching, he asked her to kick the slipper back to him. However, the woman, seemingly a natural athlete, kicked it even further away. Inside the building, while folding his umbrella, he accidentally injured his hand. Overwhelmed with anger, he vented his frustration on the umbrella and stormed towards the elevator. The woman, seeing him approaching aggressively, mistook his intent and rushed into the elevator. He caught up, causing her to believe he had malicious intentions. She repeatedly hit him with her umbrella. Although very angry, being a man, he couldn't hit a woman. He punched a wall repeatedly, injuring both his hands. Coincidentally, shortly after, the same woman, Lee Min Kyung, visited Dr. Han. She was still trembling with fear. She asked the doctor, "Do I look like I'm crazy?" She explained that she intentionally acted strangely to keep people away, but unexpectedly encountered a madman. After hearing her story, the doctor diagnosed her with anxiety disorder and obsessive-compulsive disorder. Later, she went to a convenience store and saw him eating sausage. When paying, she whispered to the cashier, "Be careful of that man." Then she ran off. As for him, while pouring boiling water into his cup noodles, he couldn't find the oil packet. He asked to exchange it for another one. The cashier refused because the product was already opened and couldn't be exchanged or refunded. He knew this, but without the oil, the noodles were bland and inedible. The cashier turned on a recording device and told him to contact the manufacturer. He refused, insisting he bought it there. The cashier threatened to call the police. Having no other choice, he returned to his seat and ate the noodles. Only after finishing did he discover the oil packet stuck to the bottom of the container. After eating, his stomach started to ache. He asked the cashier to use the restroom, but was refused and again threatened with the police. He quickly ran home. By chance, he encountered the same woman again. She assumed he had malicious intentions and fled. She quickly entered the elevator, closing the doors before he could reach it. He ran up the stairs. Unexpectedly, she didn't expect him to be so fast. She frantically opened her door, rushed inside, and locked it. He went straight to the bathroom. Upon opening the door, he found his father sitting inside. Unable to contain himself, he told his father to get out. As soon as his father stepped out, he immediately went in. But his father, thinking his son was being disrespectful, grabbed his shirt to reprimand him. At this point, he was so exhausted that he collapsed. And then, what had to happen, happened. Everything inside him came pouring out. Then, he told his mother to let him do it. But his mother said that when he was young, she always did it this way. She reminisced about how innocent he was as a child. His father, however, shuddered at the memory. His mother remembered the purpose of their visit, to find a girl of suitable age for him, as suggested by a fortune teller. But he didn't care and retorted, "Mom, don't wash clothes anymore, and next time, don't bring food. We can eat out. You don't have to go through all this trouble." This angered his father, who shouted, "If you're so filial, then don't ask for money to buy a house for your upcoming wedding. You ended the engagement a week before the wedding. You've brought shame on this family." Hearing this, he sadly went outside. While soaking in a hot bath to wash away his bad luck, he remembered that the crazy woman was his neighbor. If he saw her again, he would settle the score. Meanwhile, the convenience store clerk, on her way home from work, encountered a pervert. While holding her phone, she managed to take a picture of him. Seeing this, he lunged forward to grab her phone. They struggled, She screamed for help, causing him to flee. Meanwhile, Lee Min-kyung was throwing away trash when she saw a lost dog. Wanting to help it find its owner, she followed it to the parking garage. When she found it, she felt something was wrong. Turning around, she saw the man from yesterday, wearing an electronic ankle monitor. Seeing him approaching aggressively, she ran to a security camera to call for help. Seeing that was ineffective, she turned to the dashcam of a nearby car. Quickly, she jumped into the car and screamed for help. But this car was his beloved vehicle. Seeing it about to be damaged, he went insane, yelling and screaming. Afterwards, they both ended up at the police station. YO stated that he had been beaten by Min-kyung, causing intentional bodily harm and property damage. Min-kyung didn't refute it but admitted to it, making him certain she was craving prison food. With these two charges, she would face at least 8 years in prison. Min-kyung began her defense. She said he had been stalking, harassing, and threatening her daily, even attempting to assault her. YO gestured that she was mentally unstable and making things up. Min-kyung further accused YO of being a dangerous criminal because of the ankle monitor. Upon inspection, YO laughed because it was just a key to a locker at a sauna. He hadn't noticed he was still wearing it. Min-kyung said he was a wanted criminal because when YO widened his eyes, he looked very similar to the suspect. The police officer intervened, suggesting it might be a misunderstanding. Since they were neighbors, they should apologize and reconcile. At that moment, a colleague called YO Inspector. This shocked Min-kyung. They then talked and learned that the colleague was assigned to work there. YO inquired about Yoon Jin's condition. He was much better, but it was unlikely he'd return to duty. The colleague said Yoon Jin wouldn't blame YO and advised him to visit him. Just then, the police chief arrived, reprimanding YO for showing his face there despite being suspended. He scolded him for assaulting someone and causing trouble, but YO explained he was trying to arrest a drug offender. The more he explained, the angrier the chief became because YO didn't even know what the offender looked like. YO burst into tears, his mood fluctuating wildly, as if he were mentally ill. Min-kyung, standing nearby, heard everything. YO said goodbye to his colleague and asked Min-kyung for her phone number. She looked at him with surprise and suspicion. He explained he only wanted her number to easily exchange compensation money. But he added, "Seeing you with that flower in your hair is suspicious. Even craziness has limits. I hope you stay away from me in the future. I have intermittent explosive disorder. If we clash again, who knows what will happen." But he had threatened the wrong person. Min-kyung started provoking him, saying it was because of that disorder that his engagement was broken off. Then she left. Luckily, his two colleagues intervened, and everything remained peaceful. While Min-kyung was photographing criminals, Hydro approached, and she inadvertently photographed him as well. She said that if anything happened, this would be evidence for an accusation. Seeing this, he started recording a video, saying it was evidence of her violating his privacy. Immediately, Min-kyung snatched his phone and threw it away. Luckily, it wasn't his main phone, so it was still usable. Then they both went home, but their eyes were still full of animosity towards each other. Upon arriving home, YO saw his mother had prepared a meal for him. Because they waited so long and he didn't come, his parents had gone home earlier. While eating, YO cried because he felt unfilial. The next day, he went to see the doctor for a follow-up appointment. The doctor, seeing his distressed expression, thought his digestive system was reacting to the medication and suggested switching to a milder one. But he wanted a stronger medication, even a sedative or something that would knock him out. This made the doctor chuckle. He explained that he was still very angry. The doctor advised, "Actually, everyone gets angry sometimes. It's a natural emotion. Suppressing anger isn't the best approach. Get angry wisely, be aware of the target and the reason for your anger." Then, the doctor suggested he recount the incident that made him angry before. YO began to tell his story. It was a day of torrential rain. He and his team were surveilling a drug trafficker. At that moment, a car drove past in the opposite direction. Looking at the license plate, they recognized it as the trafficker's vehicle. As they were about to act, their superior called, ordering them to retreat because they didn't have an arrest warrant. But YO disobeyed the order and went into the bar with his team. He checked each room but found nothing. Then he saw a suspect running away. While chasing him, he accidentally bumped into someone else, allowing the suspect to escape. Afterward, he searched and found evidence, but was suddenly attacked from behind. Shortly after, his teammate Yoon Jin also arrived, but was severely beaten. Yo struggled to get up and engaged in a brawl with the attacker. At that moment, police investigating prostitution unexpectedly raided the place, arresting the entire operation. Yo and his team were also arrested. The police chief was speechless with anger. Yo was accused of buying sex. He denied it, saying he was there to arrest a drug trafficker. But the police didn't find the person or evidence, nor was there a warrant for the arrest. Instead, the bar owner accused him of using special services and assault. Although Yo escaped the charge of buying sex, he was listed with over 10 reasons for disciplinary action and was dismissed from his job. The doctor advised him to avoid situations and people that easily angered him. That would be better for him. Going downstairs, seeing Min Kyung, Yo tried to avoid her. After paying, he didn't see Min Kyung anymore, so he felt relieved. But when he reached the exit, they encountered each other again. After a few words, they started arguing. Luckily, the doctor called him back, so things calmed down temporarily. Later, he went to a convenience store to buy cigarettes and met the police officer from before. Through their conversation, he learned that the clerk there had encountered a pervert. After advising her to be careful, they both left. As he was about to get into the elevator, Yo ran into Min Kyung again. Reluctantly, they rode together. From then on, whenever he saw her, Yo tried to avoid her. Even when going to the clinic, he didn't want to see her. That evening, while eating in the park, Min Kyung appeared. The dog wanted to beg for some food from him, but Min Kyung wouldn't let it, saying it was dirty and eating too much would make it fat and die of illness. He didn't say anything and gave the dog a piece of his food. Afterward, he wondered why she had so much free time. Besides treatment, she often strolled around the neighborhood, and she admitted that he wasn't much different. Then he brought up the subject of compensation for the car repair. But because they were neighbors, he decided to reduce the amount with one condition. Min Kyung was curious to know what that condition was. He said the condition was that she had to change her therapy appointments and make sure not to run into him. During treatment, it's necessary to avoid things that cause stress. However, she wanted him to be the one to leave. He admitted he wanted to leave too, but unfortunately, it was the only place with a female doctor. He could control his anger in front of her because men don't hit women. That she was still unharmed is proof enough. She called him crazy, making him unable to eat anymore. He stood up abruptly, loudly calling her the craziest person in the neighborhood. She didn't back down, taking out her phone to record him, leaving him speechless. Although very annoyed, he didn't bother calculating with her anymore. At that moment, he declared the war over, the agreement void. He wanted her to sell everything to prepare the compensation money. But for Min Kyung, this was evidence to accuse him of extortion. She calmly went home. When connecting to Wi-Fi, she discovered her neighbor's network name was Crazy Woman with a Flower in Her Hair, Apartment 506. Not to be outdone, she changed her Wi-Fi name to Angry Man with Intermittent Explosive Disorder, Apartment 507. Min Kyung smiled triumphantly, then began studying Mongolian. When she reached the phrase, "Please save me," she thought for a moment and then burst into tears. That night, she had a dream of being chased by a man, terrifying her. Waking up, she ran to check the gas valves, thinking there was a leak, but they were all tightly closed. It turned out the cries for help outside were from an old woman whose house was on fire, but no one cared. Min Kyung was curious to know what happened to her. The next day, she went to see the doctor. Min Kyung was worried about the possibility of a gas leak or a faulty gas pipe. The doctor reassured her that with her carefulness in checking the valves, nothing had happened. The doctor also wanted to know what her most painful memory was. For Min Kyung, her most painful memory was also her happiest memory. That man always protected and loved her. She laughed a lot when she was with him, but that short-lived happiness stayed to torment her, making her lose faith in herself. The doctor asked if she still remembered him, and if she hoped he would suffer and eventually die in the most painful way. At that time, the police issued a warning about a pervert lurking around the apartment complex. People were advised to report to the police if they spotted him. Meanwhile, the neighbor was sleeping when 3 aunties from the Women's Association came knocking on his door. They wanted him, with his former police experience, to join their neighborhood watch to prevent crime. Although he refused repeatedly, he reluctantly agreed. Before leaving, he reminded Min Kyung that if she kept a dog in the apartment, she had to report it to the management office. Then, the 3 of them left. That evening, he met with everyone. While on patrol, he saw Min Kyung having dinner. They exchanged playful jabs, after which he left. While Min Kyung was eating, a former colleague approached her. The woman was very polite to Min Kyung, having previously been her subordinate. However, as soon as Min Kyung left, the woman immediately began gossiping with her friends. She said that Min Kyung, a former company assistant, had been fired for having an affair with a married man. She looked so refined and elegant, so well behaved, but she did such a shameful thing. She's a terrible woman, destroying another woman's family, trying to marry a married man, she said. Standing outside and overhearing everything, Min Kyung burst into tears, but nobody knew her suffering. She had met the man's wife before. The woman had complimented Min Kyung's beauty and said she must work for a good company. But upon learning the truth, she accused Min Kyung of pursuing her husband for his money and status. It was then that Min Kyung learned that the scoundrel had lied to her, claiming he was divorced. Afterward, the wife threw coffee on Min Kyung, calling her a low-class woman. Seon Ho called, but Min Kyung didn't answer. He went to her workplace to explain. Seon Ho said, "Don't believe her. No matter what that woman says, just believe me." But Min Kyung no longer trusted him, as he was still married and just a scoundrel. He had nothing. He sarcastically remarked, "Is it because I'm broke that you want to turn your back on me?" But that was precisely what Min Kyung wanted to say. Seon Ho being broke was worse than him being married. She stood up and left. Afterward, Seon Ho sent videos of them together, trying to force Min Kyung to stay with him. She begged him to delete the videos, but he didn't care. His contempt haunted her, making her nauseous. Meanwhile, YO and the neighborhood association head were taking a young woman from the convenience store home. The woman showed the association head a picture she had taken. Upon seeing it, the association head's eyes nearly popped out. YO also saw it and told the woman to delete it. Just then, someone called to report that a pervert had been caught. Upon closer inspection, the face and height of the arrested person were completely different. A young man living in the neighborhood was apprehended while standing in front of his house. Upon closer inspection, everyone realized he was dressed ridiculously. He didn't bother explaining and walked away. Everyone wanted to report him to the police, as there had been several instances of people dressing as women to enter women's restrooms to secretly film or commit indecent acts. But YO argued that to convict someone, you need to prove they harmed someone. The young man was only wearing women's clothes and makeup. He hadn't harmed anyone. Later, YO and the others took the woman home. Upon arriving, he saw Min Kyung frantically calling. Upon seeing him, she cried and pleaded for help because she had forgotten to close the door and her puppy had run away. She begged him to help find it. He thought the puppy was just running around and would return. Moreover, it had barked and tried to bite him, so he refused. Min Kyung recalled his previous words about war and thought he was getting revenge. She presented evidence claiming he was blackmailing her and pressured him to find the puppy. YO denied it and provided an alibi, stating he had been on patrol all night. Seeing this, Min Kyung cried and begged. She said, "If you help, I'll move my clinic, do anything you tell me to, and avoid you on the street." But he was very tired and wanted to rest, so he refused to help. As he turned to leave, she said, "The car, the side mirror, the car door, I'll have to pay for all the damage." He sensed something was wrong and turned back. Then he agreed to help her find her puppy. The two went to the apartment building's security room. Since YO was a police officer, accessing the security cameras wasn't a problem. After a while, they identified the culprits. They both ran outside and retrieved the puppy from two children. Min Kyung shouted, scaring the children, who started to cry. She left, leaving YO to comfort them. Seeing this, she bought candy for the two children. She wanted to know why they had done it. The innocent children explained they wanted the puppy, but their aunt wouldn't let them. She told them that wasn't allowed. Min Kyung gave them candy because she felt guilty for scaring them, in exchange for them not telling their mother. Then, she also gave Yo a gift. He reminded her of her earlier promise, but Min Kyung only wanted to reschedule her appointments, not change clinics. She would keep the rest of her promises. He curiously asked if she planned to keep the puppy. She confirmed it. He thought it was right because the puppy suited her. Min Kyung got angry and was about to argue, but remembered her promise and stopped. She explained that animal lovers aren't bad people. He then pointed out that even Hitler loved animals. At this, Min Kyung wondered if he was flirting with her because she was pretty. Yo laughed loudly, reminding her that the children called her aunt, implying she wasn't young. But Min Kyung thought the cunning children were deliberately provoking her. Yo commented that she wasn't so offensive to look at. She was passable, so she shouldn't be so self-important. Afterward, Yo entered the elevator alone. He felt relieved but also anxious, sensing he was being watched. The next day, Min Kyung went to the security room to register the puppy and named it Ho Roman 6. She later told her doctor. The doctor thought it was excellent, as interacting with pets would help stabilize her mental state, which was beneficial for her treatment. Then she asked what if she adopted a large, noisy breed. The doctor wasn't sure, as it would be difficult to keep such a breed in an apartment and it could hinder her mental stability, even being potentially dangerous. But Min Kyung said this breed never bites women, surprising the doctor. Meanwhile, Yo was practicing yoga following a video tutorial. There was a loud banging on the door. It was the woman from the neighborhood association. She asked him to patrol the neighborhood that day, but he refused because he had to visit his colleague, Yoon Jin. At that moment, he received a package, but when he opened it, it was a stun gun, not a razor as he expected. Checking the address, he realized it was from his neighbor. He then gave it to her, saying, "This in your hands could hurt an innocent person." He went to the hospital and saw Yoon Jin still in pain, undergoing treatment, so he lacked the courage to visit his colleague. Jong Dan mentioned that being injured was already difficult, and he was worried about medical expenses and rehabilitation. Yo questioned why there was no insurance for injuries sustained on duty. But that day, nobody expected 3 people to work there. Yo blamed himself. "I shouldn't have taken Yoon Jin there." But Jong Dan comforted him, saying it wasn't his fault, it was that damn Jang. Then Yo wanted to know the news about him, and Jong Dan said he was now selling goods on a chat app for retirees, using a fake account named Ice Princess. He tried chatting with several people but didn't find him. He was about to give up when someone messaged him. The man even showed his goods and suggested meeting at 8 p.m. Now he was in trouble because he had to meet him disguised as a woman. Then he remembered and went to find the cross-dressing young man he had met before. His name was Samantha. He asked him to do his makeup and disguise him to look convincingly feminine. Incidentally, he wanted to know if Samantha was gay. Samantha himself wasn't sure, just liking to dress up like the people he idolized. After almost an hour of makeup, Yo had become strikingly beautiful. Looking at himself in the mirror, Yo couldn't help but laugh. Yo arrived at the meeting place. He called, and they recognized each other. Jang invited Yo to another location. Unexpectedly, Yo grabbed him, and they struggled, revealing that they were both police officers. After a call for backup, the team discovered that Yo was an inspector from the Gangnam precinct, the same officer who had made the news for assaulting someone at a brothel. While trying to arrest Jang, a colleague arrived and told Yo to stay out of it, or he would be implicated in drug trafficking and obstruction of justice. He added that Yo's makeup was beautiful, and he should keep that look. Meanwhile, Min Kyung was researching how to handle encounters with large dogs. Don't show fear, and definitely don't run. Then Ho Roman 6 ran to her demanding food, so she went out to buy some. Upon seeing Hyoko, presumably a person, not the dog, she didn't recognize him and mistook him for a pervert. Remembering the advice, she didn't show fear or run, and used the stun gun on Yo. He twitched for a moment, then realized it had no battery, causing him to panic and fall. At this point, Min Kyung screamed, calling him a pervert, causing him to run. The neighborhood watch heard the commotion and gave chase. Everyone was shocked to recognize Yo. No matter how much he explained, they didn't believe him and took him to the police station. Then his captain appeared. He angrily threw a bag at Yo, berating him for disobeying orders during his undercover operation. He was furious about having to defend Yo at the station repeatedly, and he exclaimed about how terrible Yo looked, telling him to keep his legs closed and to remove his wig and stockings. Only then did the women believe the explanation. The captain scolded Yo for his antics even after seeing Yoon Jin. He warned that if he investigated Jang again, he'd be fired. Yo walked home sadly in the rain. Min Kyung followed, consoling him, saying it was just a misunderstanding and that he shouldn't be upset. He asked, "What have I done to deserve this relentless persecution? I helped you find your dog and did so much for you. This is truly infuriating," Yo cried. He wished to avoid her from now on, wanting her to lock her doors and stay away, effectively dismissing her. Min Kyung silently walked away, her sadness mirroring his own. Suddenly, a stranger followed Min Kyung, making her anxious. Unexpectedly, the man rushed forward and stripped naked in front of her. She screamed in terror. Yo heard and rushed to see. Seeing she was unharmed, he quickly chased the pervert through a shortcut and intercepted him, apprehending him. When Min Kyung arrived, he told her to call the police. Afterward, they both went home feeling relieved. Min Kyung walked with him. She revealed that she suffered from a condition that made it difficult for her to trust people, and whenever it rained and someone followed her from behind, she experienced shortness of breath, a racing heart, dizziness, and numbness throughout her body. But then she'd be fine. Min Kyung insisted it wasn't normal. It was an illness, and to control it, she had to breathe deeply and count. He guided her. Deep breath in, out. 1. Deep breath in, out. 2. They gazed intently at each other, lost in the moment, before he snapped back to reality, saying, "Just keep repeating that." At home, he recalled Min Kyung clinging to his arm, stirring a certain feeling within him. Min Kyung tossed and turned, unable to sleep. She followed his method and finally fell asleep. The next day, the doctor, seeing Min Kyung's improved condition, asked, "The dog must have helped you regain your vitality. You feel safe and peaceful around the dog, and you want to walk it, as if it's a guard dog." But the dog Min Kyung referred to was a large dog that barked fiercely but didn't bite women. Then it was Yo's turn. The doctor asked if he had avoided anger triggers as planned. He realized there were situations he couldn't avoid and had confronted them. Now, he had reached a point where he enjoyed the confrontation. On the way home, he met the neighborhood watch ladies. They apologized and now saw him as a hero. Min Kyung was watching an action movie and imagined Yo fighting the pervert, even picturing Yo as the main character. She thought she was going crazy. Later, Min Kyung ordered 2 meals and deliberately wrote Yo's address. She wanted to eat at his place. He had never been so happy, but he suspected her of having ulterior motives. In reality, she had no ulterior motive, just wanting to know how he subdued the pervert and asked him to teach her self-defense techniques for dangerous situations. But he refused, fearing she might hurt someone or get injured. Min Kyung explained she only wanted to learn for self-protection. Hearing this, he agreed on the condition that she wouldn't use the stun gun again. He instructed, "In a dangerous situation, grab their arm, strike with your elbow to the front and back, and run until you can't feel your legs anymore. Stop when you're about to collapse and feel nauseous." Min Kyung was disappointed. She wanted a technique to knock someone out with one punch. He explained the only way was to target a man's weak point, grab his shoulders, then hit his groin hard. That's it. When she wanted to practice, he refused, fearing she might actually use force and hurt him. But she pleaded so much he couldn't refuse. He warned her to only use the motion, not any force. But his worst fear came true. He fell to the ground, convulsing, but managing to say, "Don't ever appear in front of me again, get out." Min Kyung, terrified, went home, leaving him in pain and groaning. From now on, he had a new kind of New Year's experience. Just then, the doorbell rang. He saw someone delivering 2 meals and immediately knew it was Min Kyung. She peeked out and warned, "Don't think giving you food will make things okay." Then she took her meal home. He said that was fine, not holding it against her since she showed remorse. But the food was unusual. He wondered if she was deliberately trying to annoy him. Later, Yo went to the convenience store to buy some snacks. The cashier, knowing he had caught the pervert, gave him a small gift as thanks. At that moment, Min Kyung entered the store. Seeing her, he quickly gathered his food into a bag and hurried away. Seeing this, Min Kyung quickly paid and chased after him. asking when he would teach the next self-defense lesson. He refused and urged her to stay away, saying that if he got involved with her again, he might get seriously injured or even become paralyzed. Min Kyung angrily called him petty and said she wouldn't talk to him again. But when they reached the elevator, she completely changed her tune, calling out, "Honey, hurry up." The elevator was still in doubt when he noticed a suspicious-looking person. Understanding her implication, they both entered the elevator. From that moment on, she was always afraid. As they were nearing their apartments, she saw the same suspicious person following them. Then, he put on a cape. It turned out to be their neighbor, dressed as a superhero to surprise his 2 children. Then he asked, "What are we having for lunch tomorrow? You need to eat a lot because my self-defense training will be strenuous. That way, you won't need to hold my hand like you did today." The next afternoon, the 2 went to the park. He told her to take off her glasses and explained that people have an instinct to protect their weak points, so she needed to deceive and obstruct the opponent's vision before attacking. He instructed her to poke the eyes and then attack the groin. Min Kyung immediately tried it, but Yo stopped her, reminding her of yesterday's lesson. He told her to visualize the attack and throw punches in the air. Next, he demonstrated how to defend against an attacker from behind, stomp on their foot, turn around, and kick them in the groin. He practiced with her, but was worried as Min Kyung performed the moves quickly, although he managed to dodge her kick. He then focused on improving her stamina, courage, and agility. They did push-ups, squats, and ran in circles. When they started jogging, he told her to imagine someone attacking from behind and run as fast as she could. Min Kyung ran, her pace increasing. Later, she didn't hear him call out, and when she turned around, he was gone. She went back to look for him and found people holding Yo, saying he was a bad guy. He tried to explain, but only when Min Kyung appeared did people believe him. At that moment, Min Kyung ignored him, running and teasing him. Then Yo's mother stopped by. Seeing the messy house, she cleaned up and found women's belongings. She remembered the fortune teller's advice to change Yo's name or move to a place near water. However, she couldn't sell the house because prices were dropping, so the only option was for him to date someone with the water element. This woman would extinguish the fire within Yo. Meanwhile, Yo and Min Kyung went to a convenience store to buy ice cream, surprising the clerk who had previously heard Min Kyung call Yo a bad person. The girl gave Yo a gift, and he gave her an ice cream in return. The 3 of them ate ice cream together. The young clerk told him the name of the pervert who kept calling and explained that he was under pressure due to unemployment and that he wouldn't be able to find a job if he had a criminal record. He begged her to forgive him this time. She was afraid that if she refused, he would threaten Yo. Yo explained that what the man did was sexual harassment, and she should handle the negotiation herself. If she didn't want to negotiate, she should ask the police for protection. If she wanted to punish him severely, she should write a petition, but not to worry. If there were any problems, he would help in any way. Afterwards, the 2 went home. Min Kyung wanted to go eat with him, but after a phone call, Yo made plans for another time because he had something urgent. Song Da called, just to eat black bean noodles with him, and explained that the captain had been a bit harsh before because headquarters had called. They said they encountered Yo during an investigation and didn't want their team involved with Jang's case, and they also didn't want to reinstate him, which is why the captain was so angry. Yo suspected something fishy was going on. Whenever he got involved with Jang, headquarters took action, but Song Da didn't believe someone at headquarters was backing him. Yo wasn't sure either, but something felt off. He told Song Da to inform him immediately of any news about Jang. Yo then met Samantha. He complained that his legs still hurt from dressing as a woman last time and apologized for not returning her things yet. Samantha wanted him to keep them as a souvenir. The 2 walked arm in arm, and coincidentally, Min Kyung saw them. The guy recognized Min Kyung's jealousy. Yo didn't believe it, since they weren't dating yet. He wanted to help Hill see Min Kyung's reaction. Min Kyung stared without blinking, then angrily walked away. She went to the park and complained to Ho about what kind of strange bodyguard he was. Only those with loose morals would behave that way. Yo asked her if she had eaten and offered to treat her to dinner, but Min Kyung ignored him, saying she didn't need him to teach her martial arts anymore and he should go on a date with his girlfriend. Yo explained that she had misunderstood. The woman earlier was his neighbor, not what she thought. If she didn't believe him, she could ask around. Only then did she happily go home. The next day, while she was organizing things in her house, the doorbell rang. She cautiously opened the door. The man said he was from the courthouse post office delivering documents for her. The sender was Lee Seon-ho. Min Kyung called the court, complaining and refusing to negotiate or share any personal information. Yet, her home address was somehow disclosed in the documents. They knew where she lived, even though the court claimed they wouldn't reveal a victim's address. It seemed like an accidental leak. Later, Min Kyung called her landlord about moving out, but he refused to return her deposit immediately, insisting she stay until a new tenant was found. Meanwhile, Yo was watching TV when the Women's Association members knocked on his door, inviting him to a meeting. The apartment building's value had plummeted drastically, so they needed to rebrand it with a more prestigious and luxurious name to boost its market price. Min Kyung offered some impressive suggestions, including upgrading the main entrance to an automatic gate and repainting the building's exterior as quickly as possible. Everyone applauded her ideas, believing they would help increase property values. However, the association president found it odd that a mere tenant was so enthusiastic and involved. Yo was also surprised by her concern for the building's price. Min Kyung claimed it wasn't about the property value. She simply wanted to move, but if the prices dropped, she wouldn't get her deposit back. She needed to escape before getting caught. The next day, while reading a magazine, Yo rushed to the window in alarm. He saw a stranger standing in front of Min Kyung's door. She was frightened, trying to control her breathing as someone instructed. The stranger started knocking, claiming to be from a real estate agency. Min Kyung refused to let them in, as it was already late at night, suggesting they return in the morning. The agent insisted their client only had time to view apartments after work. When Min Kyung mentioned she didn't live alone, the two quickly left. Yo recalled Min Kyung saying she had to escape before being caught, which confused him, especially since she claimed to hate running away. The following morning, Yo cleaned and put his black shoes out to dry. Min Kyung, while taking out the trash, saw the shoes and, assuming they were discarded, took them home. When she returned, the Women's Association members approached her. Impressed by her contributions at the meeting, the president invited her to join. Min Kyung explained it would be difficult as she was moving soon. At that moment, Yo also came out to take out the trash. The president asked him why Min Kyung was moving, but he genuinely didn't know and walked away, looking dejected. Learning from the women that Min Kyung had taken his shoes, so he went upstairs to find Min Kyung. Hearing a knock at her door, Min Kyung pretended to be talking to her boyfriend inside. Yo, hearing this, apologized for interrupting her date, but explained he needed his shoes back. Initially, she refused, but his persistence wore her down, and she returned them. Back in his apartment, while packing, Dong-da called to inform him they'd caught the guy using Young's drugs. Yo wanted to go there immediately. Seeing Min Kyung struggling with a broken lock, he called a locksmith and told her to stay in his apartment while he went to see Dong-da. Wanting to help, he went to discreetly get a statement from the drug user. However, the guy was being stubborn. So, Yo covered the camera and turned off the lights, threatening to stuff pickled radish up his nose until he suffocated. The man finally cracked, saying he only went to a bar designated by Young, told the bartender he was there for a hold, and received the drugs. Later, the two reviewed footage from the previous bar incident. They spotted the blonde man leaving the bar and getting into a car. Yo remembered hitting him during a previous chase and was certain this was Young. He took a picture of the man for evidence. Meanwhile, Min Kyung, having gone into Yo's apartment, looked around before falling asleep on the sofa. Coincidentally, Yo's mother dropped by and found Min Kyung asleep. She went to the kitchen to prepare some food, and when Min Kyung woke up, she explained she was just waiting as her door was locked. Yo's mother cheerfully told her not to be so formal and just say she was Yo's girlfriend. Min Kyung tried to explain that wasn't the case and asked to leave, but his mother insisted she stay and prepared a lavish meal. Min Kyung complimented the food and ate heartily. Yo's mother asked if she knew how to cook, learning that Min Kyung mostly relied on takeout. Just then, Yo arrived home and was surprised to see Min Kyung still there. His mother said she'd asked her to stay. She also inquired about Min Kyung's birth date. Yo curtly told Min Kyung she could leave now that she'd eaten, disappointing his mother, who commented that Min Kyung might be good for him. She understood the fears of a woman living alone. That night, it rained heavily. Worried about Min Kyung, Yo went to her apartment to deliver some supplies she might need. Inside, he arranged the items like he owned the place, explaining that as a boxer, he had things that would scare off intruders. They shared drinks, which he considered a farewell party, expressing sadness about her leaving. He hoped she wasn't leaving because of him and even admitted he'd grown accustomed to her presence, finding her unpredictability intriguing. However, Min Kyung stated he wasn't significant enough to influence her life decisions. Hearing this, he asked if she was afraid of others and didn't trust anyone, as if the person she trusted least was herself. She wasn't sure if she'd turned off the stove, closed the windows, or turned off the gas valve, and she didn't trust him either. He said, "I can't hit a woman," to appear gentle, but to him, it wasn't something said to charm women. It was simply natural for a man. But she'd met that kind before, the despicable type who always sweet-talked women, only to turn out deceitful. A married jerk who, if things didn't go his way, would turn on her. He even said, "Knowing I'm married, you still tried to seduce me and ruin my family." And that man hit her. Others called her greedy and malicious, but he thought they were just jealous of her beauty, so she shouldn't believe them. In reality, people don't care about others' problems that much. So Min Kyung wanted to live recklessly. She stared at him, suggesting they sleep together. He was outraged, offended that sleeping with him was considered so casual. She said she liked the sound of police sirens, as if they would come to save her, and then covered her face and cried. The rain had stopped, so he took her home. They didn't speak, walking in silence. Opening the door and stepping inside, Min Kyung was lost in thought when she was startled by the doorbell. Slowly opening the door, she saw Yo. He asked if she had turned off the gas and closed the windows. She didn't say anything, just nodded. He told her to believe in herself, that a meticulous woman like her would never have been so easily deceived, and that she had done nothing wrong. Then he went home. She called out to him, "Yo, I have something to say. Thank you for helping me the other day. Would you like to come in for ramen?" Yo wondered why she was suddenly inviting him for ramen. Min Kyung explained that a woman inviting a man in for ramen has another meaning. But he remained calm, as he wouldn't take advantage of a woman who was drunk or not in her right mind. She was disappointed she couldn't trick him. Min Kyung then revealed she was going to Mongolia after getting her apartment deposit back. She had planned to go later, but her plans had changed. Yo wanted to know why Mongolia. She explained the population density was low there, life would be more comfortable, and she'd encounter fewer terrible people. He complained, "Then why invite me for ramen if you're leaving?" And she called him a country bumpkin. Yo was happy to learn she hated the rain as much as he did and was curious why she hated it so much. For her, rain made her feel worse, like water seeping into a wound, stinging even though she tried to forget it. Sameng was surprised to see the convenience store worker also working at the bar. He was surprised when she returned the item he dropped at the cosmetics store. He thought she hadn't noticed. But she explained that working so many jobs taught her to pretend not to care about things. He wanted to know how many places she worked. According to her, not too many. The convenience store, the cosmetics store, a PC bang, and this bar. He then asked if she found his appearance odd or scary. She humorously replied she was only afraid of being poor, nothing else. Yo woke up to realize he had slept at Kai Hoon's place. As he reached the door, he saw a strange woman staring intently at him. Then someone banged on Min Kyung's door. It was Min Kyung's mother. Having finally found her daughter after a long search, she was furious. She said the next-door neighbor should move in with her too. Seeing Min Kyung's state, she scolded, "You've been treated like this by men, and you still haven't learned your lesson." Then she demanded to know who Yo was and what he did for a living. He was a police officer suspended from duty for assault, causing his heartbroken and furious mother to cry out, "Can't you live without a man?" before hitting her. Yo stood outside, trying to eavesdrop on what was happening inside. The mother wanted Min Kyung to drop the lawsuit and settle the matter quickly. Min Kyung was heartbroken that her mother could forgive the man who had caused her so much pain, and asked if it was because of money. But what the mother wanted was for her daughter not to live in hiding, constantly running and relying on sleeping pills. This constant worry and suffering tormented the mother. She lamented, "I didn't give birth to you to live a wasted life like this." It hurt her even more when Min Kyung said she wished she'd never been born. The mother sat by the door, lamenting to the heavens about her ungrateful child, asking what mother wouldn't want their child to live a good life. Seeing this, Yo approached to comfort her, and the mother asked him to come inside. She warned him that if he looked down on Min Kyung because of her mental state, he would regret it. If anyone ever hurt Min Kyung again, she would chase them to the ends of the earth and break their limbs. At this point, Yo hesitantly said, "Min Kyung is a lot like you. Very beautiful." The compliment warmed the mother's heart. He then reassured her that Min Kyung was doing well, that she had a puppy to protect her, and that he was always looking out for and taking care of her. He told her not to worry, as he was a police officer. The mother admitted she hadn't trusted anyone before, but now Yo was the only person she could trust, so she pleaded with him to take care of Min Kyung. He, in turn, encouraged her to trust her daughter, saying that Min Kyung had been improving lately, taking the puppy for walks and exercising. Though alone, she was living well, and things would get better. Later, he told Min Kyung that her mother had visited. She simply acknowledged it, mentioning that she hadn't walked the puppy the day before because of the rain. She usually walked him at 4 p.m., and he seemed to understand her routine, which made her happy. That afternoon, Yo prepared meticulously, and they went out together. Seeing people selling sunglasses, they stopped to browse. He told her that constantly wearing dark glasses made the world seem gloomy. He offered her several pairs to try, and she chose a pink pair. He then challenged her to a race, promising a gift if she won. She ran as fast as she could, with Yo following close behind, encouraging her. Min Kyung won, and he gave her the gift a whistle. He told her that if she blew it, he would appear, but to only use it in a real emergency. Afterwards, the real estate agent returned with an older client to view the house. However, Min Kyung now seemed reluctant to move. After the viewing, the two left, but the older woman returned, pretending to have forgotten her phone. She did this to speak privately with Min Kyung. She was Seon-ho's mother, and she wanted to apologize in person for his actions. She explained that she had been unable to contact him and had arrived late. She knelt and begged Min Kyung to forgive Seon-ho. But Min Kyung refused to negotiate. The mother pleaded, saying that since they had once loved each other, prolonging the court case would only make things harder. As this was a case involving a married man and a single woman, Min Kyung would be the one to suffer. She even suggested that Min Kyung marry Seon-ho, claiming that everything would be fine then. But Min Kyung wanted her to understand what she had gone through. She wished that the woman's own daughter would experience the same betrayal, abuse, and threats, even being filmed and blackmailed. The mother continued to plead, promising to make Seon-ho apologize on his knees and spend his life making amends if he was released. But Min Kyung remained firm, asking her not to come back. The mother then offered to pay any price, but Min Kyung threatened to file a petition for a harsher sentence if she persisted. Frightened, Min Kyung ran away. On his way home, Yo heard a whistle and rushed to find Min Kyung. After a while, he found her. He initially thought she was playing a prank, but realized she genuinely needed help. He helped her up, and she leaned against him, promising not to run away anymore and to endure and overcome everything. They hugged. Afterward, Yo took Min Kyung home. She wondered how he found her, guessing he was following her. But he ignored the question and confirmed that since she wasn't running away, it meant she wasn't moving. She nodded, agreeing that running would only lead to being caught, so there was no reason to run anymore. His mother arrived to negotiate. Yo was tense because Min Kyung should have discussed this with him instead of facing his mother alone. He wanted to know what his mother had said that made Min Kyung cry, but she didn't want him to know. She said they were in the wrong, and with the whistle incident, she wasn't afraid anymore. He asked if there was any other reason she was staying, and she mentioned being invited to join the Women's Association. She couldn't articulate why she wanted to stay, perhaps because of her gender, and he seemed to understand, just smiling. Now, they both felt a strong sense of kinship, and weren't afraid of the rain anymore. A woman in the Women's Association saw a post about Min Kyung and, recognizing her apartment complex, shared it in the mother's group. The news quickly spread throughout the building, and the president of the Women's Association, Realizing it was Min Kyung, wanted to confirm directly. Meanwhile, YO had identified the perpetrator, Jang, but lacked evidence to arrest him. He checked his watch. It was almost 4 o'clock, and he hurried to get ready. Min Kyung was also ready. Someone rang the doorbell, and she happily assumed it was YO, but it was his mother again. Min Kyung said the matter was settled, questioning why she was back. His mother insisted that it wasn't settled until they reconciled, claiming she'd find Min Kyung wherever she went. She offered increased compensation, asking Min Kyung to name her price. Furious, Min Kyung retorted that if that was her idea of reconciliation, she should bring all her assets. The women from the association overheard. Seeing them, his mother started falsely accusing Min Kyung of clinging to her married son for money and ruining a family, blaming everything on the man. Min Kyung angrily told her to leave, then walked away. YO, unable to locate Min Kyung, called her, but she didn't answer. The women from the association pressured her to move as soon as possible, arguing that a homewrecker living in the building would tarnish its image. Min Kyung left without a word. While searching for Min Kyung, YO encountered the women. He inquired about her, and they painted her as a wicked person. Surprised and confused, he checked the news and insisted it wasn't true about Min Kyung. He raised his voice, but the president claimed to have spoken with Min Kyung directly and asked her to move. Min Kyung's silent departure supposedly confirmed the accusations. This infuriated YO because Min Kyung was thrilled to join the Women's Association. If she moved, the president would be held responsible. YO eventually found Min Kyung in a restaurant. He entered, scolding her for not answering her phone, making him search everywhere. He said he knew everything and reminded her of her promise not to run away again, asking why she left. If things weren't true, why not just tell them? Why hide? Min Kyung wondered. Even telling the truth seemed pointless. The woman had previously come to Min Kyung's workplace to spread the rumors. She had even posted it on the community bulletin board. Min Kyung tried to explain and refute it, but everyone believed the rumors. No one took her side. Then YO said he would always be on her side, but she wanted to know why he would do that. He explained that having someone like her as an enemy would be terrifying, and it felt more comfortable to be her ally. They shook hands and took a picture as proof. He told her she didn't need to be afraid anymore. He alone would take down all those people. Meanwhile, the cashier at the store recognized Min Kyung and asked if she was still single, or if she was too busy with her studies. Min Kyung said she had a boyfriend, gesturing to the young man Samantha who had just walked in. Samantha understood and played along, pretending to be her boyfriend. Later, Min Kyung thanked Samantha, saying it would have been awkward without her help. Then the women from the neighborhood association approached Samantha. Knowing he was good with computers, they asked for help finding the person who posted the rumors about Min Kyung, to verify the truth. Samantha wanted to know if it was the same person who was being ambiguous with YO. He tracked the IP address. The person was also living in the same complex. One of the women in the association admitted to sharing the post, but claimed it was just information from someone else. She then found the original post. At that moment, the young cashier realized they were talking about her older sister, who was with the police officer. She revealed she knew the truth, having overheard the conversation while working part-time at a cafe. The women realized they had wrongly accused Min Kyung. Samantha also found that the IP address of the original post and the malicious comments were the same, belonging to the woman they had encountered earlier that afternoon. They realized she was manipulative. That night, Kyung couldn't sleep, staring at pictures of herself with YO, a happy smile on her face. The next day, Min Kyung visited the doctor in high spirits. She said someone was on her side, and just knowing that someone believed in her gave her the courage to endure and fight. YO also seemed better and smiled a lot, although he showed flashes of anger. The doctor asked what made him angry and led to his outrage. He said he couldn't control it when he saw the post slandering her and wondered how she had endured it. He worried she might suddenly run away. That afternoon, the two were walking Ho Roman 6 when the women from the neighborhood association ran up to them. Min Kyung firmly stated she wouldn't move. The president agreed. There was no reason for Min Kyung to leave, especially since she was joining the Women's Association. The three apologized for the online posts, explaining they were false and blaming the older woman for the misunderstanding. Min Kyung, seeing they knew she wasn't a bad person, was ready to let it go. But the women insisted it wasn't that simple. Since she was now part of the association, it was their issue too, an insult to the whole neighborhood. The three women went off to handle the matter, while Min Kyung and Yo enjoyed the park, carefree and happy. The three women confronted the older woman. When she saw them, she complained about the crowded area and led them to a quieter spot. She wondered how they found her and what they wanted. The president said finding her was easy and that they were there for revenge because she had insulted their community. The woman retorted, asking if they had nothing better to do than meddle in other people's business. The three women laughed, saying they were indeed so free that they had even planned to visit her neighborhood and tell everyone about her son's imprisonment. The woman's tone changed, asking what they wanted. They simply demanded she delete all the posts and never show her face in their complex again. She complied immediately. Everyone celebrated Min Kyung joining the association with a small gathering. Min Kyung thanked them for their help, and they all raised their glasses. Now everyone was on the same team, and they hoped Min Kyung would settle in well. The president advised the treasurer to stop drinking, as she had become quite the alcoholic. Every morning, the smell of alcohol hung in the air. Sometimes she'd drink so much she'd forget to pick up her child. Frustrated, she'd drink even more. She was actually sad because people said women should stay home and raise children, which is why she quit her job. But now, people were saying children respected working mothers more, and she felt like she was wasting her talents as a treasurer for this cheap apartment complex. Still, it was better than malicious gossip, which at least didn't hurt anyone. The two women bickered and started to fight. Seeing this, Min Kyung blew a whistle, telling them they were being ridiculous, and then walked away with them. Min Kyung continued blowing the whistle. The women grabbed her to take it away, surprised to see Yo running towards them at full speed. He scolded them for ganging up on Min Kyung, but the president explained that Min Kyung was a notorious drunk and had taken her side without understanding the situation. Min Kyung declared she loved the apartment complex and would live there forever with everyone. The women were happy but curious why she liked it so much. "Because you're all unusual. Everyone's crazy except me, the most normal one here," she replied. Yo then took Min Kyung home. Later, she called and blew the whistle for Yo, claiming it was an emergency because she missed him so much. Min Kyung opened the door to find him standing there. She said she wanted to sleep but couldn't because she kept getting scared. Yo promised to stay until she fell asleep. She asked him to tell her a story or anything to help her sleep. She mentioned that crying during sad movies helped with anger management, but he rarely cried, no matter how touching the film. He suggested they watch a movie together as a form of therapy, saying it would be better to go with someone. He asked what she really meant when she invited him in for ramen the other time. By then, Min Kyung had fallen asleep. Looking at her, he leaned in to kiss her, but she opened her eyes. Min Kyung asked what he was doing. He shook his head, saying nothing. She told him since he was a country bumpkin, he should just do what he wanted, and kissed him. Yo, no longer hiding his feelings, kissed her back. Now, they were no longer hesitant, acting as if they belonged together, although it was embarrassing to have her little sister watching. Their mothers coincidentally met at the same fortune teller. The fortune teller made vague predictions, but luckily got it right when she saw Min Kyung's birth date. She said Min Kyung's element was rainwater, and before it all flowed away, it needed to meet a tree to blossom and bear fruit. Yo's mother also showed the fortune teller Min Kyung's birth date. The fortune teller was happy, saying her son had found a very suitable partner. The girl was rainwater, and now she no longer worried about the tree burning to ashes. Yo's mother thanked the fortune teller, relieved. The fortune teller was surprised by the coincidence. Later, while taking the bus together, Min Kyung's mother said it was her first time seeing a fortune teller and she wasn't sure whether to believe the predictions. Yo's mother said it didn't matter. If the fortune teller said their children would find good partners, they should be thankful and believe it. According to the fortune teller, Yo would meet a good person and live a happy life. However, Yo knew nothing about women, wasn't good with sweet talk, and wasn't attentive. What girl would date him? Min Kyung's mother also worried about her daughter, who was very calculating and had no idea what being gentle and refined meant, so no boys wanted to date her. Min Kyung woke up to the sound of someone in the kitchen. Peeking out, she saw Yo making breakfast. she pretended to be asleep. Yo, noticing this, quietly started to leave. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door. It was the women from the neighborhood association. Yo quickly hid before Min Kyung opened the door. Because Min Kyung was so drunk the day before, the president hadn't told her about the neighborhood patrol at 7 p.m. and reminded her to be there. The women were surprised by the dog barking loudly, but left soon after. Once they were gone, Yo and Min Kyung could speak freely again. Yo told her he had made breakfast for her. The three women outside overheard them. At exactly 7 p.m., the sisters finally gathered, and Yo showed up. The head of the group was surprised that Yo knew about their patrol time. He shyly explained that he saw everyone gathering and wanted to join. Afterward, he and Min Kyung were paired up. During their patrol, Min Kyung snatched his phone, suspecting him of secretly taking pictures of women. However, she later discovered it was just a couple. They continued patrolling until they reached an area slated for demolition, so there were no people around. But Min Kyung found it suspicious. If nobody lived there, why was there a light on? She decided to investigate. Yo tried to stop her and urged her to go home because he was afraid of the dark. However, Min Kyung stubbornly insisted on going alone, instructing him to come to her aid if he heard a whistle. She searched but found nothing suspicious until she unexpectedly saw something terrifying. Outside, Yo heard the whistle and rushed in, finding Min Kyung with a strange young man. The young man explained it was a woodworking workshop with dangerous machinery, warning against unauthorized entry due to the risk of accidents. He added that residents had reported a foul smell, prompting their investigation, which revealed the odor originated from glue and paint. They both apologized and left. However, Min Kyung still suspected it might be a disguised facility producing illegal substances. Yo promised to send a special task force to investigate. As they left, a man named Jang appeared. He vaguely felt he had seen Min Kyung somewhere, but dismissed it as a mistake. The next day, they dressed smartly and went to see a movie. The heartbreaking and tragic film moved them to tears, but Yo sensed they were being watched. Afterward, they went to a restaurant. While Min Kyung was in the restroom, the captain called Yo, suggesting they stop by his place for a few drinks. Yo refused, claiming he was far away. Unexpectedly, he saw Min Kyung at a table in front of him, and they both went inside. It had been a long time since the three of them had gotten together, so they decided to drink until they were drunk. During this time, Yo showed the captain a picture of Jang. He had disguised himself as a waiter at a bar to deliver goods and escaped during a raid, avoiding questioning because he wasn't an official employee. The captain wanted to send the evidence to headquarters, but Yo disagreed, suspecting internal collusion with the drug trafficking organization. Min Kyung slammed the table, angrily saying, "The police are colluding with the drug trafficking organization, covering for Jang." Yo's concerns were valid, and he insisted on keeping the investigation secret until they had concrete evidence. However, he worried they might be overheard. At that moment, the captain realized Yo and Min Kyung were together and invited them to sit with him. Jongdan immediately called Min Kyung's sister-in-law, and the captain chided Yo for not introducing them sooner. Then, the captain quickly offered Min Kyung a drink. Jongdan complimented Min Kyung on her beauty, making her feel happy, even though she thought it was just polite flattery. But it wasn't just polite. Jongdan said he'd met many sisters-in-law, but Min Kyung was the most beautiful. He humorously recounted women who had pursued Yo, highlighting his popularity with the ladies. Yo gritted his teeth, angrily saying, "Will you stop blabbering?" But Jongdan didn't stop, adding that a pickpocket had once sent Yo a love letter, and she was exactly his type. The captain laughed and said, "Yo doesn't have time for dating. He works at the station every day and sleeps on the sofa." Afterward, the captain pulled Yo outside to talk. On their way home, Min Kyung recalled seeing the man from the picture at the woodworking workshop the previous day, but Yo didn't believe her. Curious, she asked about his type of girl, and Yo replied that he liked someone who wore flowers in their hair with a bit of a quirky personality. Hearing this, they both laughed and walked away hand in hand. However, Min Kyung later told the doctor that she suddenly felt scared, thinking he might no longer be on her side. But she still wanted to believe in him, because believing was easier than doubting. Meanwhile, Yo also confided in the doctor that because she believed he was a good cop, he was even more afraid of ruining everything. But now, he was determined to do better, especially after receiving his medical certificate to return to duty. When his colleague called Yo to the station, he refused because he had an important appointment. But his colleague urged him, saying, "A police officer has something more important than a case." Meanwhile, the criminal had been released on bail and was with his lawyer. The lawyer stated that although he was released on parole, the situation was unfavorable due to the voyeurism charge. However, her law firm had extensive experience in such cases and was confident of winning the case. When the lawyer warned him not to approach the victim, he laughed, saying it was excellent because he would make a lot of money from it. Min Kyung felt like she was being watched. Indeed, the criminal had found out where she lived. Meanwhile, Yo had gone to the office and submitted his medical certificate to the captain. He discovered that headquarters was demanding all documents related to the Jang case, but Yo refused. He felt his intuition told him something shady was going on. The captain then gave him an article about Inspector Woo Do-hoon, who had arrested many criminals and confiscated the largest amount of illegal substances in the country. Looking at the photo in the article, Yo suddenly remembered meeting him before. He asked his colleague Jong Dan to retrieve the case files from 5 years ago that Violent Crimes Unit 4 had handled. While searching, Min Kyung called Yo to ask if he had caught Jang. Yo was busy and said he'd call back later. He eventually discovered that Jang was actually Han Pil-hee, a man arrested 5 years prior for possession and trafficking of illegal substances. However, he was only convicted of using illegal substances, received a suspended sentence, and was released. Violent Crimes Unit 4 handled the case, the same unit that had arrested numerous drug addicts nationwide. Yang might have sold out the addicts to boost the investigation team's performance record, aiming for a reduced sentence. When Yang was about to be arrested for delivering drugs to a VIP client, they appeared and tipped him off, allowing him to escape. The investigation into Yang is currently suspended. A black bean noodle delivery person arrived. Curious, Yo showed him the case files, thinking it might be helpful. Afterwards, Yo went to a store to buy a special gift. Meanwhile, Min Kyung was upset because Yo hadn't kept his promise. As she was tying her shoelaces, her dog, Ho Roman 6, ran off. Unable to catch the elevator, Min Kyung had to run down the stairs. She found only Ho Vai's leash. The dog was gone. Min Kyung panicked, crying and searching frantically. When she finally found him, Ho Roman 6 was unresponsive. Min Kyung rushed Ho Roman 6 to the emergency room, but the situation looked grim. When Yo returned home, he found his ex-girlfriend waiting. She handed him a marriage announcement and congratulated him on his new girlfriend, adding that not many women could tolerate a man who was unemployed and suffered from an uncontrolled anger disorder. She mentioned she was getting married to a good man but was worried about his condition because he was still living in their old marital home. He questioned when she started to care, considering she had called off their wedding a week before the ceremony, despite his pleas to wait until the investigation was over. She justified her actions by saying marriage is about happiness, and he had destroyed it. She couldn't be there to support him and endure his anger. It wouldn't have been a happy marriage. She claimed that leaving him was the reason for her current happiness. Yo countered that truly happy people don't find happiness by hurting others. He stressed that despite being abandoned and resenting her, he never wished her harm. Before leaving, he gathered all her belongings to return them. Meanwhile, a worried Min Kyung rushed back to find Yo, but found a strange woman in his apartment. This woman deliberately misled Min Kyung, causing her to leave heartbroken. Back home, Min Kyung collapsed, threw down her whistle, and sobbed uncontrollably. Yo later sent his ex-girlfriend away and went to Min Kyung's place to explain. However, Min Kyung was furious, telling him to leave or she would call the police. Yo patiently explained that he wasn't lying. He only ran into his ex-girlfriend after getting off work. It was their first meeting since the breakup. Min Kyung didn't believe him, slamming the door and injuring his hand. But Yo ignored the pain. He just wanted her to know he wasn't deceiving her and wouldn't let anyone hurt her again. As Min Kyung sat weeping uncontrollably, Yo wanted to know what had happened. She said Ho Roman 6 was hospitalized after eating food laced with pesticide. Someone had taken Ho Roman 6 in the elevator and had likely been stalking her for a while. Yo reassured her that everything would be alright, but Min Kyung sensed his disbelief. He suggested Ho Roman 6 might have eaten something in the garden, since the perpetrator was still in jail. Hearing this, Min Kyung angrily pushed him away, saying men are unreliable. She called him a bastard and told him to leave. Afterwards, Min Kyung packed up all of Yo's belongings into boxes and sat there listlessly, replaying his words in her mind. Meanwhile, Yo blamed himself for being foolish. Min Kyung visited Ho Roman 6 and was told by the doctor that the dog was recovering well. Yo went to the security office to review security footage. He discovered a suspicious individual who had been following Min Kyung. Reviewing the footage from Min Kyung's assault, he realized the perpetrator should have been arrested for such a serious crime. However, the bastard probably paid off a lawyer, resulting in a very light sentence. His colleague, Jong Dan, showed Yo a video depicting the perpetrator's cruel actions. Thanks to the video, they arrested him, but he was only detained briefly before being released. Yo realized this was the same perpetrator who had attacked Min Kyung previously. When Yo returned home, he saw someone calling a locksmith to change the locks on Min Kyung's apartment. He immediately remembered the stalker from the movie theater and gave chase. After a chase, Yo caught him. The man was unafraid, even taunting Yo, saying he would show him some sensitive videos that he was sure Yo would enjoy. Enraged, Yo beat him up severely, landing every blow. Min Kyung arrived and saw the scene, trying to stop Yo. However, he accidentally knocked her over, causing her to fall backwards. Min Kyung panicked and screamed. Both were then taken to the police station. The man denied all accusations and even tried to press charges against Yo for assault. Upon seeing Yo, Min Kyung left without a word. He tried to follow her, but the team leader stopped him, asking him to apologize and try to reconcile. However, Yo refused. The man was too despicable. The team leader understood Yo's actions but reminded him that if he was charged, all their hard work would be wasted. The important thing was catching Yang to avenge Yujin. Yo sighed and walked away. Yo chased after Min Kyung, pleading with her. However, Min Kyung confronted him. Besides beating people up, what else do you know how to do? You didn't do that to help me. You just vented your anger on him. Yo explained that the man had deceived and harassed her, but Min Kyung coldly replied, "You're no different from him. The person who hurts me the most is you." She left, leaving Yo helpless. That night, Yo watched videos of his memories with Min Kyung, tears streaming down his face. Min Kyung did the same, clutching old memories and weeping. The next morning, Min Kyung returned all the gifts Yo had given her. She choked back tears, saying, "Let's end this here. I'm too tired. I can't go on anymore." She turned and left. Yo tried to call her back, wanting to hold on, but Min Kyung was resolute. He could only watch her disappear, his heart empty. Then, the black bean noodle delivery person arrived. He went inside. The resident, angered by the intrusion, was confronted by the driver's explanation that he'd called repeatedly without an answer. The driver recognized the resident as Jang, the man Yo was searching for. Yo then received a call and arrived, discovering that Taniwen had already spotted Jang. Yo quietly entered and swiftly apprehended Jang, immediately calling his team leader. Following a search, police discovered a large quantity of illicit substances being manufactured there. The team leader joyfully embraced Yo, praising him for not only capturing Jang, but also uncovering the production facility. Yo's reinstatement was now just a matter of time. The team leader instructed him to apply for reinstatement as soon as Min Kyung reached a reconciliation agreement. Yo was confused, but the team leader explained that Min Kyung wanted to settle the assault case to help secure his reinstatement. Worried about Kyung meeting the man alone, Yo called her, but she didn't answer. He rushed to find her. Meanwhile, Kyung was signing a reconciliation agreement with Seon Ho. He wanted her back, but she was unconcerned and intended to leave, unwilling to see him. However, he knelt down, apologizing and begging her to hear his explanation. He said he would divorce her regardless, but wanted to tell her the truth. He admitted to loving her deeply, but her desire to break up caused him to act out. Min Kyung accepted his apology but affirmed she would never forgive him. She left, but suddenly collapsed, unable to stand due to Seon-ho having slipped something into her drink. When Yo arrived, a waiter informed him that the couple had just left, the woman needing her boyfriend's assistance because she was weak. Yo immediately gave chase. With the help of the police, he located them. Seeing Kayan unconscious in the car, Yo anxiously told Seon-ho to stop, but he provocatively sped up. Yo risked everything to pursue and block the car. However, Seon-ho reversed and fled, only to get stuck in traffic and attempt to hijack another vehicle to escape, mistakenly choosing a police car. Meanwhile, realizing Kayan's critical condition, Yo had others call for emergency services. Yo's and Kayan's mothers received the news and rushed to the hospital. Upon hearing the patients' names, a nurse informed them both were receiving treatment but had only sustained minor injuries, reassuring the mothers. After regaining consciousness, Yo visited Kayan, but she was asleep, so he didn't enter. When Kayan awoke, she visited him. Remembering Yo's words, "Seeing you in pain, seeing you suffer, makes me truly angry," she felt the sincerity of his emotions. Now, regardless of what might happen, Yo had woken up. He asked Kayan to lie down beside him. She was worried, thinking he was in a lot of pain, but he reassured her it was just a sprain and he'd be fine. Learning he'd be discharged the next day, he told her to go home and take care of things, as he wanted to go for a walk with her after he was released from the hospital. Then, he said he wanted to give her a gift. Kayan was delighted. He sat up and put the gift on her. Afterward, Kayan went to see the doctor and confided that being with him meant enduring a lot of pain. She thought nothing good would come of continuing like this. Her confession left the doctor feeling pensive. Returning home, Kayan packed her belongings, said goodbye to the women in her women's group, asking them to look after Yo, and quietly left. Meanwhile, Yo, freshly discharged from the hospital, returned home in high spirits, anticipating seeing Kayan again. He was utterly shocked to learn she had left hours earlier. He immediately sped off, driving at 60 km/h, trying to catch up with Kayan. Finding her, he wanted to know why she had left without a word. Kayan explained that too much had happened. Being with him filled her with fear, especially after being beaten by Seon-ho, to the point where she had to kneel and beg him. She couldn't live a normal life and love someone, especially someone who knew about her painful past. Min Kyung asked Yo to promise he would live well, but he said he couldn't live well if she left like this. Kayan could only turn and walk away. Yo tried to call her back, saying he'd become a drunkard, beating up anyone he met if she left him. At that moment, someone accidentally bumped into him, and Yo grabbed the man. Min Kyung rushed over, panicked, urging him not to get angry because of her. She also said she'd be furious if he got hurt. Suddenly, she realized the man Yo had grabbed was a criminal. In a moment of intense emotion, Yo shouted, "I love you." Then, they passionately kissed, ignoring the criminal who was still there. Despite this, Min Kyung decided to go home to her mother's to regain her composure. Some time later, Yo was reinstated, and his life gradually returned to normal. While at work, a news report announced that several police officers were implicated in the Handlum crime case. Yoon Jin had also recovered and returned to work. At home, he lay pondering and confided in Ho Roman 6. "She left us. You invited me to drink when it was raining. Even though I slept with you and ate noodles with you, she still left." Suddenly, hearing a siren outside, he jumped up and rushed out. He saw his beloved Kayan, dragging a suitcase, returning. The two looked at each other, smiling in joyful happiness.